Well, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents. It's me and Mary. Say hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, guys. Listen, today this episode, it would be lovely if we could discuss some iconic things from the past.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
And pay homage to some of the best iconic Dublin street characters.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Now, before I start, I want to say a special thank you and an acknowledgement to the Fountain Resource Group and the Dublin Time Machine for the information that they've provided for this show today. All right. Now, going to start off with Here by Elaine Gallagher. Elaine is a playwright currently doing research into the old Dublin street characters. This is a scene from a play she is working on at the moment. Right. Do you remember meeting your friend under the clock at Cleary's or going to see the Cleary's window at Christmas? Yeah?
Yeah.
Crossing O'Connell Street to head down Henry Street, but doing it cleverly so you could watch Dancing Mary but not get caught talking to her. You'd be wondering what the hell she would be wearing today when you got off the bus, because like the GPO, you could be guaranteed she would be there, moving, swaying, praying and exclaiming, "I wish you could have known. Oh, I wish you could have seen her." Laughing at the fairy liquid bubbles all over O'Connell Street because some Egypt had a few too many and decided the floozy in the jacuzzi needed a little R&R. I wish you knew what Dublin felt like back then. Roach's stores, that was another meeting place, only the posh ones shopped there. The smell, the bang of fish on Moore Street, the shouting and the competition of the flowers sellers. I always bought Mam roses from the lady on O'Connell Street. I remember Ma telling me, "You're a dub, be proud of that, never forget that. Don't make so much sense to me at the time." So what? I'm a dub, I thought. What does that even mean?
Yeah, listening to that being read out there now, that brought back loads of memories to me.
Okay.
I mean, look, I know Dublin has changed, and I sing that song, Dublin in the Rare Old Times, because
Right.
I remember some of that Dublin.
Okay.
I can remember that feeling and that smell when you went into Moore Street and all the women selling their vegetables and stuff like that. And the roars of them, 2 for a penny.
Oh, yeah, loved it.
And then you go down along Henry Street and you had the stalls there and they'd be saying, what was the thing they used to sell? It was like a monkey on a thing.
Yes.
Oh, I'll come back to that. I remember it. But they'd be screaming for that, buyer, wherever it was. And then it was down further on down Henry Street. You just took a right turn off and you were down to Hector Gray's. And, it was just, Hector Gray's was one of the places my mother brought her top china, which wasn't china at all.
Yeah.
I remember going in there one Christmas and buying this beautiful pair of horses. The old Guinness horses?
Yes.
They used to pull the Guinness things, and we still have them.
Oh,
at
not
home.
lovely.
And she polished them till the paint was nearly worn off them.
Yeah.
But to her, they were her china. And then you come back up Henry Street and you had Woolworths.
Oh, I loved
Now,
Woolworths,
a lot of people
Mary.
forget that Woolworths was actually there.
No, I absolutely adored Woolworths.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the cheapest store. I mean, it wasn't all cheap.
Oh, no, it had all the bits and bobs you needed.
But you know what I loved about Woolworths? My memory of Woolworths was Woolworths used to do ice cream there from the machine.
Right.
Do you
That's
remember?
right, yeah.
And it was, I always remember it being like a really soft marshmallow.
Yeah.
Kind of, it was a completely different taste to the ice cream that we get nowadays. But it was my treat. We'd go into town and my mother always gave me the money to go into Woolworths. First thing I did and get myself the ice cream. I absolutely loved it. And Roach's Stores was there, as you know, again for the posh.
Yep. I think I used to go into Roger's stores, but we wouldn't be buying that in Roger's stores at the time.
Well, it was a little bit cheaper than Arnott's. I mean, Arnott's.
Well, it was a lot cheaper than Arnott's.
Right. And I remember, again, my mother used to take me into Arnott's coffee shop. They had a coffee shop. And it was more a restaurant. And it was actually, in those days, a silver service restaurant. Right? So when you went you waited to be seated, you sat down and you had these lovely white tablecloths and silver service. And silver service was, your waitress had to be silver service trained, whatever that meant. And they'd come over and they'd take your order and she would take me in there for
You were very posh, you were.
No, my mother was.
Yeah,
right?
okay, yeah.
My mother was, right? And she would treat, she wouldn't treat me all the time because there was 10 of us, so others had to get this treat as well. But she loved treating herself. So we'd go in and we'd have these afternoon tea, and it would come with a tiered, remember that?
They still have them. Yeah.
Tiered.
The cake
With
stand with
cakes
sandwiches.
And sandwiches and so on and so forth. And when the cream cakes would come, I loved cream cakes.
Yeah.
And I'd say to her, how many can I have? She said, you can eat them all if you want.
Oh, wow. So that was a treat for you.
That was a real treat.
Yeah.
It was absolutely, it felt very posh, right?
Yes. Well, I didn't have that poshness.
No. And then for me, Cleary's was the shop we all went to, the window. Do you remember the window?
God. We used to just queue up outside there to see all the moving Santies and stuff like that. It was unbelievable. Is that still going, I wonder, in any of the shops around?
Well, I don't know. Yes, it is. It tends to be up in BT's on Grafton Street.
On Grafton Street,
I didn't even know Grafton Street existed, love. I thought you had to have a passport for Grafton Street when I was a kid. But anyway,
I never even heard of it when I was a kid.
You're going across the river. Where the hell are you going? Yes, but I'm not sure they have a nodding Santa, or they do have a Santa visit, a grotto.
Yeah.
But they do their displays at Christmas time, their windows are absolutely fabulous.
Yeah,
so
I suppose for the children today.
It's worth the trip going up there for that.
Yeah,
it really is. And for the kids passing. But we used to stand outside Cleary's and watch the Santa and the baby Jesus.
Yeah. That was in we used to go to St. Martin's
and the
for
stable
that.
and the stable and all that. But we never went in to see Santa because we couldn't afford it. Right, so that was our trip. We'd see kids going in and they'd see him and they'd come out with their presents and so on and so forth. That wasn't on our list.
Yes,
right?
I know what you mean.
But yeah, I absolutely loved, and Moore Street was probably my favourite from the point of view
Moore Street.
Of smells, and
so many memories of walking down there with my mother. Yeah.
Right.
Loads of characters. Even the butchers. There was a butcher's, and the butchers are still there.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of the stalls went that way and across the road.
Yes.
And there was a butcher's there.
That's right.
Now it's still there. I don't know if it's the same people that own it.
Yeah.
But I can remember my mother going in there and buying big lumps of meat, and the meat was beautiful. Now it was expensive.
Yeah.
Because for us it was expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
But she'd bring it home and she'd always make sure my dad had his little piece of steak and the whole lot.
Absolutely. And you had
coming in, you could hear the characters screaming the prices of their potatoes and their tomatoes and their bananas and you just see them all sitting there in their little flask of tea or a cup of tea, whatever it was they had.
Yeah.
And just looking at them, and I didn't stand there and think, what sort of a life has that woman got? But I'm sure anyone that was, trying to write something down or walking down there is where you would have found all the characters.
Oh, the characters
were
fabulous.
Yeah.
In fact, I went to Moore Street to do a show. It wasn't a show, it was a programme, a cookery programme for BBC Two. And I went down recently, right? And I couldn't believe how much it had changed, because a lot of it now is street food.
It's gone.
Right. And European street food and all over the world. I mean, it has still got a great atmosphere and the food is absolutely fantastic. But what really, really did my heart good was that I met a few of the traders who had actually been in the movie.
All right, yes.
Right. And it was just to see them. I mean, they were there. Oh, it was just absolutely lovely. It was like a trip back memory lane. And then to hear from them that their mothers had actually passed the stall
went down
on
to
to them.
generation and generation, which was fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, my own mother's mother had a stall, but I'm not sure where she had it. I don't know, but I always remember, the photographs my mother had of her. And she'd have the apron thing that tied around.
That's right. Yeah.
With the little money belt.
That's right. Yeah, money belt.
So she obviously had a little stall somewhere. I don't know whether it was in Moore Street or not.
Yeah.
So I can't. I mean, I must look into it.
Yeah.
If anyone out there wants to do my history, you can do it if you want to. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to do it. I'd like to know.
I bet you would. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be lovely.
Absolutely.
And so Moore Street for me was one of the things. But going back to Woolworths, talking about Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I remember we couldn't afford to go to Santa Claus either. I was the youngest, so I got brought everywhere. I got spoiled much more than my brothers and my sister.
Yeah, basically.
But I remember my brother Tomo and his friend Michael Anderson was his name. And my mother insisted that Tomo take me in to see Santa because she was busy doing everything ready for Christmas.
Right, yeah.
So it was Christmas Eve and we all went in to Woolworths. And I was only a little kid and I remember being on the bus going in and I remember sitting beside my big brother Tomo. And we got into Woolworths and I went in and seen Santa and I got my little present. Very cheap, I may say, because it was for people who didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
But I remember coming out and getting on the bus and my brother Tomo turned around and said, "Do you think Mammy would like them earrings?" And I said, I was only a kid. I remember it as well as that. I said, "First of all," I said, "you robbed them." And he said, "Yeah, but that's not the point." And then I said, "And secondly, Mammy has pierced ears. They're clip-ons." And I always remember him saying, "Well, feck you," and he put them in his pocket. But he robbed a pair of earrings while I was in St. Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That's the type of family I had.
Yeah.
But I was, there's just memories. There's silly little memories. I mean, he hadn't got the money to buy me Mammy a present because he wasn't working. He was still in school and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but it's just memories. Woolwoods brings back so many memories for me. Moore Street. Just talking about, going down O'Connell Street, all the different characters on O'Connell Street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's talk about some of the characters.
This is what this play is about.
For instance, Dancing Mary. Yeah. Now, I have a little bit of her background here, which I will read, but I know that you remember her.
I do remember,
And so I'm going to, Mary, her name was Mary Dunn.
Okay, yeah.
And for those listening now, just give you a little bit of a background onto each of these iconic characters. Mary Dunn, fondly known as a Dancing Mary, was a common yet curious sight on O'Connell Street for nearly 20 years. The Dunleary native was always immaculately dressed with trademark skirt and high heels. She danced for hours in all weathers, seemingly in religious ecstasy and with the energy of a woman half her age. Yeah. When she wasn't utterly lost in her trance, she would interact with the busy pedestrians who made up her audience. She'd chat, smile and wave, rosary in one hand and sometimes a flower in the other. In the great tradition of Dublin characters, Mary was celebrated for her glorious individuality and fading innocence, which would still be, I have to turn the page over, found when ordinary people in our city could be familiar to thousands. So tell me what you remembered about Mary.
The funny thing was, I remember going in with my mother and my Aunt Mary, and we're walking down underneath the GPO.
Yeah.
And this woman is dancing across the road, and she's a cross in her hand.
Okay.
And there was a load of rosary beads and roses sitting there. And so Mum said, "Come on." I said, "Who's that?" And she said, "That's Mary." And I said, "Who's Mary?" And she said, "She's called Dancing Mary." So she brought me over to meet Dancing Mary. And I always remember this little lady. When I say little, she was tallish and always well dressed, her scarf on her head and, little bits of her hair flying out. She was just so elegant. And she started talking to me about religion. Now, at that stage, I was only a kid and I didn't really know.
Yeah.
But she said, "Do you believe in God?" She had this she had a beautiful, soft voice as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Yeah," like a little child. And I always remember she gave me a pair of rosary beads. Now, I don't know where they went. My mother took them, but they were a nice pair of rosary beads. And she said to me, "You remember to be a good girl and believe in Jesus and everything will be okay for you." And then she took off like a fairy, with wings.
Yeah.
She just went off with her cross singing hymns. Oh my God, it was for a child.
Yes.
I mean, some children would have went there and said, "She's mad."
Absolutely. But for a child, she was an angel.
I just thought she was an angel. And she was dancing and everybody was coming over and saying hello to her. And, some people would actually just take her by the hand. And it was an incredible thing to see. She was a beautiful lady. And, she sadly missed upon that road. I know it's years ago.
Yeah.
But what I wouldn't give to walk down O'Connell Street one more time and see that lady do what she did, because it was beautiful.
Well, she had a very checkered background because she was born in 1927.
Oh, really?
She was a devout Catholic. She was married with 6 children. And in the 1950s, she owned a hairdresser and was so successful that she was a contestant in the World Hairdressing Championships in Vienna.
In Vienna?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Her career eventually made her move to Switzerland in 1968 for a few years. Luckily for us, she returned to Dublin and began the unique public celebration of her Catholic faith in the 1980s.
Wow.
Such was Mary's cultural impact, a mini festival featuring music, poetry and, of course, dancing was held in her honour on O'Connell Street in 2010. Oh, wasn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
When reporters at the event asked Mary the $1 million question, "Why do you dance?" and she answered, for the Trinity and the Holy Mary, obviously.
Oh, getting
Her
goosebumps.
legend always reminds me of the quote by Frederick, and I can't pronounce his name, so I'm going to spell it for you, listeners. Nietzsche. He was a very important man, I would imagine.
I can't even pronounce it either.
And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who couldn't hear the music, you see.
Yes, you see, that's it.
Mary Dunn passed away peacefully in 2014, age 87. She's buried in Dean's Grange Cemetery, but I suspect a part of her is still dancing in a place where the music never ends. And
That
that's
is
why
absolutely beautiful.
And that's why you want to go down to Dublin again and walk down O'Connell
Yeah,
Street.
because I believe there was never any music. The music was all in her.
Oh, and that
was the most. That was what fascinated. I think
Isn't
a lot
that
of
lovely?
the passerbyers.
Yeah.
That she felt
she
something
could hear the
beautiful
music.
inside her, and she'd make. As I said, there was people looked at her and went, "Oh my God!" But there was a lot of people who respected and got what she was doing.
Yeah,
you know, like she just kind of, she never bothered anybody. She would just go along doing her holy things and doing her. Oh, it was beautiful. She was beautiful.
Oh, and it is lovely.
I can't believe she only died in 2014.
Yeah,
wow.
And I wonder. I mean, obviously, her children haven't carried on her.
I don't know. Did she have children? Was she married?
She had 6 kids. She had 6
Oh,
children.
did you just say that?
Yeah, I said
See,
that.
I'm not with this
That's
stage,
okay,
huh?
Mary. You don't have to worry. She did. I did say 6 children, didn't I? I did say.
Yeah,
she was
married.
born. Yeah, she was married.
6
she was a
children
hairdresser,
in the
and she had 6
1950s.
children, and she was a hairdresser.
But
But I'm sure there's people out there now, when she was a hairdresser. I'm sure we have some listeners out there who remember going to Mary to get their hair done.
Yeah, and if you're
that
one of
is the
them,
case,
yeah.
we would love to hear from you.
Yeah,
Because
or if your mother, if one of their
Yes,
mothers.
that's what I'm saying.
And they may have told the story of.
They may, your mum may have told a story about her when she went and so on and so forth. Because, you know, to enter a world class competition, hairdressing competition, and go to Vienna
Yeah.
and then end up living in Switzerland. I'd love to know what she was doing in Switzerland. I'd just love to know
Did she
more
bring her
about
6 children with her?
You know,
or was it before her 6 children?
No.
That's what
But
I'd like to know.
Wouldn't it be lovely if somebody came along and wrote a story about her, or better still, made a movie about her?
Yes, I could play her, by the way.
That's
Anyone out there who's thinking of doing that, my name is Mary.
Okay.
You know, I won't get mixed up
She
with my
got
name.
in there first, okay, guys? But I can hairdress, all right? I worked in the hairdressers for a week.
Yes, well, I can blow your hair with a hairdryer.
I worked in the hairdressers for a week, and I used to sweep the floors. So I
there
can
you
do
are. She
it
can be the
anyway.
hairdresser.
But no, that was just
That's fascinating,
it was
isn't it?
lovely. Now,
But isn't that lovely to remember somebody like that? I mean,
Yes.
our world is changing, and it has changed since we were children.
Absolutely.
It has changed hugely, and it's still revolving and still changing, some of it for good and some of it for absolute horrible.
absolutely.
But to
I
have
know.
memories like that,
Memories like that are absolutely
It's just-
fantastic.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
loving it.
And I wish I had the kind of memory recall, because I do remember other iconic characters, from my childhood that I would see in Dublin, walking the streets of Dublin, who were considered to be strange, okay? Or, don't talk to him, he's mad. That kind of thing. But I do remember there was a photographer once. Now, he wasn't strange in any way, shape or form. But I think they did a documentary on him, and I cannot remember his name.
Art or something. I can't think of a second. It was a Ukrainian man.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he for years now he did. You know that when couples were walking across O'Connell Bridge, he'd be taking the
Oh, the
photograph of-
photographs.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did a documentary. I watched it.
did you watch it?
I can't remember
It was
his name either.
fascinating.
The
Yeah.
man on the bridge.
The man on the bridge. That's
and
what
I
was-
remember
Yeah.
my brother Jimmy and his girlfriend at the time. There's a photograph of him in my mum's house taken by that man.
No,
We have a big suitcase of all
Yes,
these black
yeah,
and white
yeah.
films, and my sister and our boyfriend Liam at
Oh
the
yeah,
time.
anybody that
And she with
walked
the big
across that
beehive
bridge
and the whole
had
lot.
their photographs taken. So,
Yeah.
and I remember watching and thinking, God, that's really something. I'd love to have met him as well, because
Yeah.
I don't think he was particularly well off. I mean, I don't think he made an absolute fortune.
Well, he had a family, and
He did, but he did it for years. I mean, it wasn't something.
Yeah,
you know.
hail, rain or snow, he was on that taking photographs. Yeah,
Yeah.
God love him.
50 years, his name was Arthur Fields.
Arthur
50 years,
Fields.
Arthur Fields. 50 years. Oh my God.
Yeah, 50 years he was
That
taking
was-
photographs
yeah,
on that.
yeah.
So I mean, we probably got photographs taken as well. We didn't even realise it.
Absolutely. Oh, well, would have done. I
Yeah.
mean, I walked many a boyfriend across O'Connell Bridge.
I threw a few in O'Connell Bridge. Just because they wouldn't bring me to the picture I wanted to see.
Right, now then I'm going to bring up another one. And I'll ask you, because you probably would know more about it than I would again. Bang Bang. Now, I'll give you a little bit of background, right? His name was Thomas Dudley, was born here in our wonderful city of Dublin in the year of 1906 to his parents, John and Mary Dudley. They had already had a sister, daughter, Anne. John, by trade, was a chimney sweeper, and Thomas was born into a Dublin that was slummed with tenement housing and poverty knocked on nearly everyone's front door. Do we ever remember those? Yeah.
Well, I don't remember seeing them now, to be honest with you. Go on, read the rest.
Well, no, I do remember the tenement buildings.
I don't remember the tenement buildings. My mother was born in a tenement building, in the corporation buildings, they were called at the time.
Well,
she was born there.
Especially in Gardner Street, because I lived in Stony Batter, you see, because I remember, Dublin City Centre was my playground. And
would you not remember Bang Bang?
I don't remember. Young. But you see, I think when Bang Bang was banging, right?
With his key.
I think I had moved to the UK. I spent 20 odd years in the UK, so an awful lot.
No, but Bang Bang would have been around,
maybe
when you were younger than that. I mean, I don't remember him, but I do remember my father and mother talking about him, and he used to go around town with a large key in his hand going, bang, 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 bang. God love him. He was a lovely man.
Yeah, well, when Thomas was young, for reasons unknown, he was placed into care. Thomas grew up in an orphanage in Cabra, and he stayed there till he was old enough to leave. He lived on the streets for numbers of years before he was given a flat on Bridgefoot Street. Now, where's Bridgefoot Street? We'll have to Google that, Mary.
Yeah, we'll Google that one. Or get one of you to tell us where it is.
The one little luxury poor Thomas afforded himself was going to the cinema and watching cowboy and Indian films. God, I remembered the cowboy and Indian films.
So do I.
Yeah, we go down to the local. When we were in Finglas, we were sent off on a Sunday. I think that's when my mum and dad had a little bit of, you know what I mean, hanky-panky. And they sent us all off with 2 shillings in our pockets, and we went down to the cinema in Finglas. And we'd watch the Sunday afternoon performances. And there was always two. There was always a B movie first and then the A movie.
Yes.
And the B movie was probably, anyway, could have been known Mother Riley or something like that.
Yeah, mostly it was
I used to love
The Lone
Mother
Ranger
Riley.
or something like that.
Yeah, and then the second one would be The Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
That would be so I did have a passion for cowboy and Indians just like Thomas. The cinema was a very big thing with some people growing up in Dublin. Yes, now as television didn't start, and it didn't, in our homes until the late 60s or early 70s. Oh, I mean, I'm not going to read it. Bang Bang's choice of weapon was an old key. You're dead right, Mary.
Yeah.
It was about 4 inches in length. No one knew where he got it. He was always running around the streets of Dublin to shoot anyone with the key.
Bang, bang. He would say, bang, bang, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Often fellow Dubliners would act it out with him.
That's true,
And pretend to be dying after Bang Bang shot them. His favourite port of calls was the buses and trams.
That's true.
Now the old buses used to have the old stairway, and that's right at the back, that didn't have any doors. This was the area where the bus conductor used to stand and take the fares. Bang Bang, his key at the bus. Bang Bang used to hop on the buses and go from stop to stop, shooting his key at the bus passengers again. And a lot of them would play along with the fun. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, you see, we kind of embraced people with who were different, didn't we?
He was different.
We did embrace them.
How many of us are different? We're all different in our own ways.
Yeah.
But some people have a unique difference. That's the thing. And there's a lot more about Bang Bang in this.
There is. Children on the streets used to shout at Bang Bang in a fun way. He would then take out his key and shout, bang, bang. All the children used to love the shooting games. It was reported once when Bang Bang jumped onto the bus, he fell to the ground. When people went to his aid, he replied, "I'm okay. Take the stage."
Take the what?
Take the stage to Medicine Bow.
Oh my God, Medicine
This happened
Bow.
to be one of the names of a town.
That's right, in the cowboy films, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Honestly.
That's fabulous,
it's
isn't it?
lovely. Okay, Bang Bang was and still is today one of Dublin's favourite street performers. Sadly, at the end of the 1970s, people used to take advantage of his flat. Oh, Mary, now this is where it gets sad.
No.
This was a time when Dublin was hit with its first big drug epidemic. Some people used his flat for hiding stolen gear or used it for shooting up. These people used to buy Bang Bang a bottle or two of stout, and he knew no better.
Ah,
And it was at this period he would also beginning to have problems with his sight. Eventually, it was decided that he had to go into a home because the situation was more than he could handle. He was moved to, what's that? How do you pronounce that, Mary?
Rosmarine.
Yeah,
Is it Rosmarine?
I think it might be. It's Rosminian, Rosmarine.
Donecarney, is it?
Yeah, father's in Drumcondra, where he died peacefully in 1981.
As you can see, I can't read half the time,
Neither
and she
can I.
can't pronounce
And I
half
can't
the words.
spell, yeah.
So we're just in bits. But anyway, we're real. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
So he died in 1981. But isn't that sad to think that,
that was the ending for him, that people would take
people
advantage,
took advantage of him. And that happens still to this day. People take advantage of those who are a little
less
bit
able
different.
to look after themselves. So I
just don't understand people
couldn't
like
agree
that.
with you. We had an old
understand
guy, not so long, passed away now, but he lived around the corner here. And I used to see a couple of not very nice lads go into his house.
That's cruel.
And
Cruel.
I heard through the grapevine that they were taking his pension and taking his money and bullying him, and
well, that doesn't
it was
surprise
really,
me.
really sad.
Unfortunately,
Really
it doesn't
sad.
surprise
Oh,
me.
absolutely.
It should surprise me. It should shock me.
Yeah, it should.
But it doesn't because it's an everyday occurrence.
But I think the neighbours, thankfully, got it reported and got him into hospital because he was obviously not able to cope.
It's just sad.
And he passed away about 3 months after that, which was really sad. So.
Oh my God! Had he any no family? No.
No, I think he might have had a sister. I think I met a sister, but she didn't live near. Now, because I do remember seeing either a sister or a niece because she was getting the house ready for sale.
Oh God!
But it was just very sad that
it is sad.
And you're right that still happens today. That people will take advantage of
happening all over the place,
somebody.
and some of us don't even see it.
Oh yeah,
or those of us do see it and afraid to do anything about it because we're afraid for our own families and stuff.
I know.
And it's just the world has become very, very frightening. And I know people say when we talk about the good old days, they mean like we had problems in the good old days, but there wasn't half as much as what's happening today. I don't think there was. I don't remember.
No, there
it
wasn't.
Being like that. And then we didn't have when I was a young girl, there wasn't many cars on the road.
No.
There wasn't much traffic. It was a different time.
It was a different time. And people had less, Mary.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is people say you had less, you hadn't got this, we have washing machines. I'm delighted we have all that now.
Oh, absolutely.
But back then we knew no different.
No, we didn't.
So we made the most of what we had.
Yeah.
And like those characters, we lived a life completely unaware of what was to come.
Yeah.
And we just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And poor old Bang Bang, obviously people took advantage of him in the end.
Yeah.
But in the middle of all that, people embraced him on the buses, the bus drivers, so it was a different time, but in a lot of ways it had its beautiful moments and it had its beautiful people in it as well.
Yeah.
So I miss that side.
I do.
I'm glad we have our washing machines and our dishwashers and all that type of stuff.
So am I. And I think obviously, there's I suppose drugs plays a huge part in the change in our communities, but also it's not just the drugs, it's just the way we live now is very, very different. And the communities have been decimated. We've been separated.
Yes.
Children who would live in the same area that they grew up in can no longer afford to live in the same area that they grew up in. So, and I think it's family and community that is so important.
Of course it is.
For young kids to belong to that kind of environment, to be so well supported by their granny and their auntie. And, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we thrived on that.
Well, it was like that in Ballyfermot as well.
Yes,
I remember
yes.
every door on Ballyfermot Crescent was open during the summer.
Of course it was.
And the mum was either washing in the back room while the kids were playing out. Yeah. And then somewhere during the day they'd all come out and meet and have a yap at the gates and talk, and there was parties on the road. Yeah. There was buntings put up. There was someone would organise a football game for the boys, and someone else would organise, a tea for the kids and play games on the ring.
Yeah.
It seems to be just,
Very different.
it's sad.
It is. And I mean, there was no such thing as ever being burgled. We'd bugger all to rob.
Oh, listen, do you remember the key
Yeah.
hanging out the back of the door? You'd come home from school, put your hand through the letterbox, put your key out, open your door.
You went in, yeah.
We had nothing in the house for the robbing anyway.
Absolutely. So it was, as you say, it was a very, very different time. And I hope the listeners aren't thinking we're moaning
No,
and
I'm
groaning.
not moaning.
We're
no,
not
Jesus,
grumpy old women here
I've just
now.
been very nostalgic. I'm just thinking about the times when I found, a gentle happiness.
Yes.
Even though my mother and father were probably struggling at the time.
Yes.
But as being a kid, you didn't see it like that. But I do remember the time you could leave your door open.
Yeah.
I remember the time you could, go out and talk to your neighbour and have a cup of tea in the garden with her. And, your door could be open all day and nobody would bother.
Absolutely.
Look, we'll get off that now. We'll go back to our next one. I never heard of this one.
Now, have you heard of this one?
No, the Dice Man.
The Dice Man.
No.
Oh, by the way, again, if anybody can give us any stories about Bang Bang, right?
Yeah, I'd
that
love
we're
that.
not aware of, or might have known him, or might have grown up with him, or it's that would be really, really nice. If you could do that. I'm getting the heads up from Mary because I'm talking with my hands and I tend to touch things and make noise, and then she does.
You have to say I can only hear it because we now have our headphones on.
Oh, that's true. And I've been very good today, actually.
She has, yes,
I've been very quiet. Anyway.
We're tipping. I keep hitting me
The
watch
Dice Man.
Yeah.
His name was Tom McGinty, a.k.a. the Dice Man, was born in Glasgow, Scotland, and came to work in Ireland in 1976 as a nude model for art colleges. Good for you.
I wonder if there are any paintings of him
Good
around.
for you, the Dice Man. Yeah. He got his name from his employers, the Dice Man Game Shop, Dublin. During his time spent in Ireland, he lived in Galway and Dublin. He became very well known when he began to busk on Grafton Street. At this stage of his career, he was a mime, and dressed in all sorts of creations, from the Mona Lisa to politicians of the day.
Oh, wow.
Ring any bells, does it?
No, I've never.
Well, mind you, if he was on Grafton Street, come on, Thomas. If you were on Grafton Street, we wouldn't have seen you, love, because we weren't allowed to cross the bridge. We didn't have the passport, right? Anyway, okay. He got work here and there as
advertising.
Human advertising.
Oh,
sorry, I thought huntman. Human advertising. One of these shops was Bewley's, where he used his charisma to get shoppers to pop in for a brew. The shop on Grafton Street shut down, but he managed to be there for the grand opening of the new Bewley's shop, which was opened in the square in Tala. That should ring a bell for you now. Still no bells? Okay. Which demonstrates how much a mascot he had become for the company. He then worked for various shops in and around Grafton Street. You see, he was posh.
Yeah, he was a street performer,
but mostly he worked as I have to turn over the page, as a street performer, as the Dice Man, a costume that was specifically like a harlequin covered in dots. Still doesn't ring a bell for me.
No.
Listen,
if any of you out there know what we're talking about,
yeah, please
let us know, because we don't know.
Because we have no idea.
No,
none
or
whatsoever.
if you know somebody who may know, just contact them and ask.
Now, he got in trouble with the law after he wore a costume showing his bare backside. How dare he do that?
Oh my God!
And when he stood up in court, he declared that he was living art. I love it.
That is brilliant.
Living art. Dubliners had taken a strong like to this eccentric who bemused child and adult alike with his antics, whether it was his slow run away from the Gardaí or well-crafted costumes. Thomas McGinty was also an accomplished actor in his own right. He acted in a number of productions, among them Janet's The Maids and Oscar Wilde's Solemn, which was later transferred to Edinburgh Festival in Scotland, adding further depth to his character.
Wow.
McGinty was politically motivated, raising awareness for the Birmingham Six, Tibet occupation and gay rights, as well as HIV awareness. In the 1990s, he himself was diagnosed with HIV. And that's sad. And he passed away in 1995. Having spent nearly 20 years working and living in Ireland. His coffin was carried to the length of Grafton Street.
That's nice.
Where
loud applause.
Where a loud applause was heard for several minutes by the people in Dublin who made the Dice Man one of their own. I think I'm going to cry,
I
actually.
feel very emotional.
Yeah, Mary, you're standing on my mic.
I didn't mean to stand on your mic. You have a very long mic.
No, you're standing on the lead.
Sorry, I don't mean to
That's
stand
okay.
on your lead.
But anyway...
Yeah, she's all giving out. Don't mind her.
Oh, that's really sad, isn't it?
It is, actually. I'm actually...
Oh, see, I
never heard of the Dice Man, no.
So, guys, we want you to enlighten us if you would. Send in an
Any
email.
information at all, just let us know.
Any information would really help. The last, but by no means least, because I'm sure we're going to bring out others that we know of, is 40 coats. Right? Something about the relatively tiny scale of Dublin makes it possible for strangers to feel familiar in a way that normally only occurs in small towns.
That's true.
In this fashion, a humble, homeless man called Patrick Joseph Marlowe became known to generations as Johnny Fortycoats. Although he only physically haunted the city streets during the 1930s, and in the 1940s, the spectre of his legend still glides along the cobblestoned alleyways, still occasionally re-emerging in pop culture.
Isn't that just beautiful, the way it's put?
Yeah.
The writer.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Mr. Marlowe was a rough sleeper, so it was from necessity against the harsh elements, rather than as a fashion statement, that he would don several layers, although never actually 40. And this gave his already ethereal appearance a unique silhouette, irresistible to kids, stray dogs, and occasionally the unkind.
Oh,
well,
yes.
Of course you would, yeah.
Yeah.
The Irish press in 1943 described him thus: winter or summer, he dressed as if he were living in some blizzard-stricken spot within a stone's throw of the Arctic Circle. He wore innumerable overcoats. Perhaps he himself forgot how many of them there were, until he was encased and layered like a fine onion. Only in Ireland would the local tramp, minding his own business, hurting nobody, end up being written about in papers, and his fame didn't end there.
Wow.
Famous folk song writer Peter St. John, who penned both The Fields of Athenry and Dublin in the Rare Old Times, your song, Mary, even name-checked him and fellow street characters, bang bang, in his song The Miro. Ever heard of it?
That's the Monto, is it?
Is it pronounced the Miro or the Miro?
Don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think it's pronounced the Miro.
It looks like that, Miro, yeah.
Yeah, and we all went up to the Miro.
Hey there, who's your man?
It's only Johnny Fortycoats.
Never heard of it.
Sure, he's a desperate man. Never heard of it.
I'm sure we've heard of it, but it just passed us.
No, it doesn't. Being a semi-legendary vagabond celebrity made it slightly easier for him to subsist off the charity of the people he encountered. He regularly held court outside certain churches. The headscarfed Owl Wans, that's you and me, Mary, after Mass, and certain pubs where alcohol might warm the milk of human kindness. So there's no indication he drank himself.
Oh, right, so he's just begging.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Okay, I've missed a bit there, and I don't want. And certainly no criminal charges were ever made against this gentleman. Such was the generosity of his patrons that he frequently ate in cafes and restaurants. Unfortunately, despite being able to pay for his meals, many places at the time refused him service, citing the lack of dining etiquette. Apparently, he had a nasty habit of spitting on the floor.
Oh, well.
Well, I mean, I
can understand that. Yeah. Not nice if you're eating a bit of fish and chip and your man's spitting beside you. Maybe he was spitting on the floor because the food wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? Of course, his manifold clothing held another purpose beyond that. His multiple pockets and amid those many layers carried his worldly possessions, a treasure trove of toys and sweets and comic strips. The innocent man had a childlike heart which beamed through his face. It's easy to see why he was always swarmed by Dublin chiselers, begging him for a deco. That was 1940s slang for "give us a look."
Less friendly were the gangs of gurriers who would taunt him into giving them a chase. Shouts of, "Come here, 40 coats. How many coats are you wearing?" And worse still, the stone throwers
Oh, God
and the
bless
thieves. Kids can be cruel, and Dublin ones are clever too.
Yeah.
Like all good local celebrities, there were imitations, other men down on their luck who dressed like 40 coats and so would be given the nickname. Obviously, these unfortunate individuals were unintentionally impersonators. Poverty, cold, and mental illness have a similar effect on the appearance of everyone. One of the side effects of these similarities was that when one of these poor homeless men tragically died, the city's rumour mill would announce the authentic 40 coats was deceased until he inevitably turned up alive to great applause and bonus donations. He was something else, wasn't he? Oh, listen, I'm just going to read the last paragraph, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Precious little is known about his origins or even when he died, but it was likely 1949, decades after the beloved Dublin character eventually passed away. His iconic presence would receive another unlikely reincarnation as a slightly creepy children's television character. The 1980s RTE show 40 Coats and Co. Actor
I remember that.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
No, you see, I was in the UK in the 1980s.
You know, it's funny because I heard the name 40 Coats. I didn't know that story about him.
No, I didn't.
And I mean, the other one, the Dice Man, I never heard about him in my lifetime.
No.
There's so much history in the old times in Ireland that's been buried. And the likes of this play that's been that's been, put together, it's going to be, I hope it's going to be a huge hit because it brings back memory. And anyone that goes to see it will get to know that there was characters like that in the world.
Yeah.
They need to know there was characters like that in the world. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It's incredible. I loved talking about it.
I wonder if we have the same tolerance for characters like that today, or was it just the timing for them? Would we...
I don't know. I mean, the majority of people are still good people. And,
I think so.
It's still... I mean, I'd hate to lose faith in the whole of humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough bad people out there to keep the world in the place it's in. I do think that the Dublin people and the Irish people,
yes,
not just the Dublin people, the Irish people,
yes,
would still embrace characters like that and still look out for them and try to. But that's what I'd like to think.
Yes,
because you reading them out, you have been reading them out. You can hear that people did look after them.
Yeah.
People did try to respect them, and that's what kept them going. I mean, there's so many more people that we don't know about that I'd like to Google and find out if there's anything else. I really would now. I'd love to.
Yeah.
That's what they really hitting a nice.
I think if anybody knows, did Johnny go back to Glasgow before he died, or did he?
Did he have a family? You see,
did he have a family? Yeah. Did he stay in Glasgow? I mean, obviously he was homeless for a lot of his time.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that because of his 40 coats and so on.
No, 40 coats was the.
Johnny 40 coats.
Oh, you're talking about Johnny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The other guy, Dicey, was homeless as well. There's something. There's something. I don't know. There's something quite special about all of the people that we've talked about this morning.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I really enjoyed it now, I have to say.
Yeah.
And if you have any information on any of them, or ones that we haven't mentioned,
yes.
I mean, writers out there need to hear these things. There's so much that could be written about Ireland.
Yeah.
So many plays and stories and books.
Yeah.
That I know there's probably loads of them out there. But, you just need to, they need to hear about the little people.
Yes.
The little people
ordinary.
that were forgotten about.
Yeah. The ordinary.
Definitely.
The ordinary that have become extraordinary.
Oh,
you know
definitely.
what I mean?
And we're extraordinary in their time, but they say you don't become a star until you're dead.
Well, I know that. Listen, tell me about it.
I'm not dying yet, so I don't care.
Yeah. But before we're not going to finish just yet, but we've talked about Dublin characters because we're both Dublin women. But if there's other characters that you have known in your lifetime,
From any part of the country.
Any part of the country, whether it be in Ireland or whether it be in the UK or Scotland or Wales, please, please, please share that knowledge with us, because you know what it does? It keeps people's history alive.
Yes.
And they deserve to be remembered. And we all learn something from them. So please, if you would share them, that would be great. Again, I'm going to give you our email address, which is the Wow Podcasts. Remember the S at the end, podcasts@gmail.com. Now, I just want to finish off with Elaine Gallagher's last little passage when she does, when she says, what does being Dublin really mean, right? And it says, well, I'll tell you what it meant. It meant walking home barefoot from the pub with your friends, not a care in the world. It meant feeling like you owned this town when you walked down the street. Dancing Mary was a mad owl one to anyone who passed by her, but the day she wasn't there anymore, something changed. The day Cleary's closed its doors for the last time. Proof. The year they decided to stop doing the Christmas window, and slowly over time, like all good things, well,
I'm gone.
I know how many people met under the Cleary's clock, myself included. Things that were said, good news, bad news, first dates, breakups, friends meeting up for drinks. How many of these couples going on a first date went on to get married and have kids that walked those same streets? Did their children see Dancing Mary, or was she gone by then? Had Dublin started her transformation by the time they were old enough to go into town by themselves? Did they miss it, or do they get to feel the same pride, safety and belonging? Do they get to walk home barefoot?
I tell you.
Mary, do you want a tissue? Mary's in tears now. She is.
It's not, it's just, it's written so beautifully.
It is. It
that,
is.
It makes you feel very nostalgic.
Yes.
And it makes you feel sad for the, I suppose, to grieve for that loss.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
That past.
Yeah.
And we grieve for everything. Mm-hmm. And that is our past.
Yes.
And it is sad.
It is.
To see that it's gone. Okay, as I said before, and I'm not complaining, I'm delighted with the way technology has taken out. Well, not so much, not all of it, but most of it. Our lives are a little bit easier in the home and getting out around the streets with cars and stuff. But the magic seems to be just a little bit gone.
There's been a price to pay for success,
and there always is
progress.
There always is.
And did we have to sacrifice the magic? And
Sometimes
maybe
so.
we have. Maybe we have to create a new magic. Maybe we have to be aware.
As she says at the end of that, would they still walk home in their bare feet?
Yeah.
I don't know if Dublin is safe enough for a group of girls walking home on their own anymore.
Yeah.
Or a group of men.
Yeah.
Group of young boys.
I know.
It is. It's. Look, I'm not saying it's all gloom and doom.
No,
it's
I know.
not.
It's not. No,
it's not.
So we're gonna round off this episode. But we will be, I promise, we will be coming back with another.
Yeah.
So hold your breath, girls. Again, our email address is the Owl Wans.
No,
it's
that's
not.
the name of the show.
The Owl.
No,
it's not.
It's the Wow Podcasts at gmail.com. Now listen to me. When we say the Wow Podcasts, there's an S at the end. Few people have been trying to get through and not putting the S in, which they're not getting through. So put the S in, and it's the Wow Podcasts at gmail.com. And also subscribe to the channel, because when you subscribe, it's free. So when you subscribe, you get notifications when we're coming on again, and you can contact us with the email. You can send in any questions you want to send in, ask us any questions, tell us what you'd like to talk about. And if you have any information on the characters we've been talking about, or other characters, whatever part of Ireland you're in, get in contact, or the UK, get in contact with us and let us know about them. We'd love to hear about them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's good night from me, and say goodbye, Mary.
Good night, Mary.